competition for water between cities, municipalities, and industry, and agriculture is becoming more keen every year.
We certainly need to minimize our use of water to every extent that we can.
Water will become a more and more limiting resource.
A precious but shrinking resource. An expanding population. A changing climate. The global challenge in the 21st century is how to grow more with less.
So now you're going to feed the world with new challenges, and you're going to feed the world under conditions where we need more than we ever needed before.
Nebraska is an ideal laboratory for research and education on the challenges of water for food. The state has the most irrigated acres of farmland in the country and a climate that varies from subhumid to semi-arid.
Irrigated agriculture is like the ballast of the ship that is our food security system. On only 18% of the arable land globally, we're producing 40% of our food supply under irrigation. And that production is so consistent year to year because water is assured. And all of the challenges facing irrigated agriculture globally are embodied here in Nebraska.
Agriculture, cities, nature, recreation, and tourism. The clamor for water comes from all sides. Nebraska navigates a sea of challenges, from drought to legal and policy issues that affect supply.
What we've done is we've created rules and institutions that purport to work in all of those different areas, right? So by studying Nebraska, you can get lessons for a variety of different folks who are operating under a variety of different conditions.
Nebraska research helps the world prepare for an unknown future where water is in limited supply.
The elements of how we can use water sustainably and as efficiently as possible is a message that can be transferred anywhere in the world.
University of Nebraska-Lincoln paleoecologist Sherry Fritz digs deep to discover what's ahead. Core samples from lake sediments produce a geologic record that tells the story of so-called megadroughts that were longer and more severe than the Dust Bowl.
We can study the past to understand how systems respond to rapid climate change, how resilient is the hydrologic system. And so by studying the past, we hope that we have a more complete understanding of how the system works and how resilient it is.
Nebraska is home to the High Plains Regional Climate Center, one of 6 federally funded centers in the nation. The center collects climate and weather data, monitors soil moisture and drought, and predicts the impact of climate change on crop production.
Climate data and information is very, very important in climate monitoring and understanding when you might be going into a drought, for example.
The National Drought Mitigation Center helps governments and organizations develop strategies.
We are by far the leading university in the world. I think the leading institution in terms of things like drought preparedness, drought monitoring, mitigation, policy formulation. So the world really looks to the University of Nebraska and the National Drought Mitigation Center to provide that leadership, to provide that expertise.
To help cope with climate change, scientists develop drought-resistant crops and grasses that move from the lab to the field.
We've built the capability to engineer crops for nutrition, for bioenergy traits, for traits that help them to grow against adverse conditions, drought tolerance, to be able to grow crops using technologies that have not been traditional.
Researchers collect information to help inform decisions made by producers and policymakers.
The wind speed, wind direction, sensors, rainfall measurements.
Using sophisticated tools in the field, Suad Irmak measures evapotranspiration, water loss from plants and soil.
Water is the life support of irrigated and dryland agriculture. So it's important for us to know what is the evapotranspiration rate from different vegetation surfaces to make better informed decisions in terms of water resources planning and management and allocations.
The Center Pivot Water Conservation Project helps growers find a balance.
This is a summary of our irrigation page, and this is
Using the Water Optimizer, growers determine the most efficient and profitable way to use a limited allocation of water.
we can maybe help growers get to the right decision faster and maybe provide them with a less costly alternative to get there.
Working hand in hand with the 4 Center Pivot manufacturers headquartered in Nebraska, researchers pass information to growers, how to pump less water and save money.
Being able to raise the same amount of food or more food with the same amount of water or less water is very important.
Think about hundreds of these sensors.
Tomorrow's problems are solved by today's innovation. Engineers and computer scientists work on wireless underground sensor networks that tell irrigation systems when and where to water and how much.
Our goal eventually is to make the soil tell us what to do instead of trying to guess.
The next generation of water scientists is trained at Nebraska. Graduate students study resilience and adaptive management strategies for stressed watersheds in the United States and Europe.
So our students should come out with an explicit understanding of the interdisciplinary nature of water and other resource kind of challenges for the future, and with training in how to address some of those problems.
As we move ahead into an uncertain future, the University of Nebraska helps make the most of every drop of water.
Thanks to the generosity of Bob Doherty and the Robert B. Doherty Foundation, the University of Nebraska is pleased to be in the position to launch the Global Water for Food Institute. The need is clear. The world's population will grow by almost 50% by 2050, and the need for food production will almost double. The University of Nebraska, with its long history in water for food, in the multiple dimensions of science and policy and law, is in a leadership position today and is pleased to be in a position to help address this global challenge.
The exposure I have had to people throughout the system that are involved with water is this passion they have for water issues and the fact that the issues are so important to the future of mankind. And that passion, I think, can be translated into what would become the place to go to for world water issues.